How's it going? Let's talk about lies today. Let's talk about people telling porkies and conflicts of evidence. I get queries all the time especially from employees who are in conflict with either their employer or with another employee, another colleague or friend of theirs, or a colleague in the workplace. And invariably, there's going to be probably a conflict of evidence. There's going to be different versions of events. Each party, the complainant and the person against whom the complaint is made, are going to have different versions of events. Now, there may be different nuances, there may be different outlooks, there may be different emphasis, and there may be downright conflict of evidence or a different, completely conflicting version of events between one person and the other. But it's not helpful for anybody to get bogged down in a situation where they are saying it's all lies, or they're just telling lies all the time, or everything in that report about me is lies, or everything in the minutes of the meeting that we held is lies, or everything in the performance improvement plan is lies. Inevitably, in any conflict, you're going to have at least three sides to the story. You're going to have your side, you're going to have the other side, and you're probably going to have the truth, which may be somewhere in between the two, or it may be completely on one side or the other. But it's not helpful to get bogged down or focused on whether one person is telling lies or not, or is exaggerating, or has a different recall or recollection of events and so on. That's inevitable in any conflict. That's inevitable in any argument or any dispute. And you're going to see it in a family situation, you're going to see it in the workplace. It's not helpful, though, from your perspective, to obsess about another person's version of events being different to yours. Now, maybe they are telling barefaced lies, but the most important thing is whether when you go to WRC or go to court or go anywhere else, whether you can, on the balance of probability, establish facts which will prove your case. And it's not a truth commission. In other words, the fact that the other person has a different version of events, or the fact that the other person may well have told lies, doesn't necessarily mean that everything that they say is without foundation. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything they say will not be believed. It will be unhelpful from their perspective when it comes to the question of credibility. But any decision maker, whether it's an adjudicator at the WRC, or whether it's a labour court, or whether it's in the civil court or criminal court, and you have a judge, they will draw their own conclusions and draw their own inferences about credibility and the credibility of the witness. But from your perspective, if you are involved in a situation where you're accused of something, for example, in the workplace, or there's a conflict and you have to answer to perhaps an allegation or allegations, don't get too obsessed or bogged down in the fact that there is a completely different version of events from the other party or parties or other witnesses, and don't get completely preoccupied and say, oh, it's all lies, they're all out to do me down, and it's completely lies. You need to park the fact that the other side may have a different version of events. You need to distinguish between everything being lies and a situation where there may well be a genuinely held belief by both parties about what occurred. And you're going to see that when you get eyewitness statements from people who may have witnessed an accident. It's remarkable how often you're going to see a difference in the narrative, a difference in the story that the witnesses tell, and yet the witnesses are trying to be helpful. The witnesses are not lying. They're recalling as best they can and describing as best they can, perhaps with good faith and so forth, and in a spirit of trying to cooperate and be helpful. They're describing what they recall. So just because somebody has a different version of events from you should not mean that you kind of shut down and get completely obsessed and say it's all lies, or all they're doing is telling lies, and don't engage with the more meaty substance which you may have to deal with, which may well be an allegation of bullying or an allegation of performance that's not up to standard or whatever. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up down below. Thank you.